I don't wake up. I don't start my day thinking about trends. I think about good architecture. I think about good space.
Sustainability and tropical adaptation is absolutely something we have to focus on. As you said, it's our big responsibility.
And my point here is actually, if you're not comfortable with the clients, right, don't waste that time to just force ourselves through.
So like this perspective, we have to check and furthermore deeply understanding, not only surface, more one, and two, more deeply understanding, and just check this, catch up with this essential element, and we can using it for another, our idea or proposal. I think this is so and so this process we can get our good seeds of ideas.
បាទអរគុណស្វាគមន៍ម្ដងទៀតមកដល់កម្មវិធី Roundtable ទី2ដែលមានការចូលពី architect មកจากប្រទេសនិយាយទៅវាយើងគេហៅថាអន្តរជាតិបន្តិចអញ្ចឹងជំរាបថាពេលនោះម្ដងទៀតដែល Roundtable នេះប្រហែលជាប្រើភាសាអង់គ្លេសច្រើនបងសានអាចជួយបន្ថែមខ្មែរអញ្ចឹងជាដំបូងខ្ញុំសូមបងប្អូនទាំងអស់គ្នាគាត់នឹងតែបងខ្លួនបន្ថែម Can we start with the personal introduction? Yvon, take away.
Hello. So good evening. I'm Yvon Chalm, based in Cambodia since 2009, and we opened an architect company, and then recently, since 5 years, steel structure factory to be able to achieve some project design and build.
Thank you. Mr. Yuki, please. Yes. My name is Yuki Ogata. I'm from Shoseki, and our company have a 40 years history in head office in Tokyo. And last year, October, we opened our branch office. This is our first overseas branch. And I living last year's October and about 1 year left. And we are trying to the Japanese style architecture in Cambodia. Yes, and my background is a little bit unique, and I worked graduate from university, and I studied for Japanese National Architecture license. I got, and after that, I was a backpacker around the world traveling, and about 32 countries, and about 1 year, 3 months, and included Cambodia. And I met one Japanese building in Phnom Penh, so I came back here.
Thank you. Mr. Chu, once again, please.
Yeah, hi. I'll keep it short. I'm Chu Yang Keng from Singapore. My company is actually INNex Architects, and we do a wide range of projects from master planning and architecture to interior design. Yeah, thank you.
ខ្ញុំសូមនិយាយភាសាអង់គ្លេសមកសុកខ្មែរយូរទៅចេះខ្មែរច្រើនណាស់ដល់ឥឡូវមកឡើងនិយាយអង់គ្លេសវិញចង់ពិបាកវិញ So everyone probably know me. I'm Hon Chansan. I'm architect and design director of Re-Edge Architecture. I came back to Cambodia in 2009. I started my architecture practice in Cambodia starting from teaching. I started teaching in 2009. I have a few of my students actually on stage this morning and just now. So I taught for 2 years, and I started Re-Edge in 2011, so it's 13 years. Yeah, other than that, I wake up, I eat, I sleep, and I dream architecture. Thank you.
Just I guess
as courtesy to all four of you, my pleasure to be here. My name is Parady. I'm an architect. I also have education background abroad from the United States. And right now I'm practicing as an architect at Forum 24 Architecture. Today, once again, I'm very humbled to be here and thank you for your time. We are going to touch upon many small topics that are related to our main topic for today, which is the trends in architecture and design. And our stage is quite multinational. I think we can expand the perspective a little bit beyond Cambodia and hopefully bring it back to the local context because all four of you obviously have experience both and just as a start, my very first question is what does trend means to each of you? Hong San, you want to start?
Trend. I don't wake up. I don't start my day thinking about trends. I think about good architecture. I think about good space. I think about the quality of building, quality of space, the quality of space between buildings. And I think of how people use the space and benefit from what I wake up to do every day. So trend is not something that driven me, but I understand that there's a certain visual attachment to architecture, right? When we think about trend, we think about style, we're thinking about movement, we're thinking about look. Because architecture is a design field, I think we attach ourselves to looking at things from the picture, from the phone visually. But deep down, I think architects are probably high trend in a way. I think personally myself, I don't think of myself following any trend. I like to think about ideas generated from common sense, like the use of space, how we incorporated interior space to exterior space, nature, environment, and people. I think probably that's my definition of trend and probably my definition of what architecture and what architects should do. Yeah.
Okay, hi. First of all, I do not believe in trend as well, Chansan. So I feel architecture is supposed to be a discovery process to look into the context and the design intent and so on and so forth. So way before I entered architecture school in the 90s, is like my understanding that in the 60s and 70s, there's this thing about nationality. So architecture in the Southeast Asia, Malaysia, Singapore, you try to create architecture to best reflects the national symbols and all those things. Yeah, I think likewise, I think Cambodia, you see a bit of that also. Subsequently, in the 90s, I think when I was a student, we are talking about tropicality. Tropicality is actually a strong response to the climax because we try to do not follow all the sleek Western architecture that's glassy and all things. We try to find something that's relevant to us. And that has actually very quickly turned into something called sustainability in the 2000s. Right, it comes very strongly because of the climax issues and all those things. And as architect, we do have a big role to play in contribute back into the world global warming issues. So this sustainability part has also driven a lot of this direction in architecture. In Singapore, actually, the government is the one that is pushing for certain policy, right, that affect the aesthetic of the architecture. For example, the government say, your building, if you have a lot of balconies and roof terraces, I give you incentive. So as a result, the architect will actually put in a lot of all these spaces. The developer wants it, and so on and so forth. So the government policy it does have an impact on so-called the trend happening in my country especially. So otherwise, back to the topic, as architect, I feel that I think we shouldn't be following trends in aesthetic aspects. Yeah, so embark on your own journey or discovery instead. Thank you.
I think trend is elemental book is making history. The trend is temporary, but trend gathering and become mainstream or one of the trend very impact architecture history also, and that means to cross the relationship and trend and the history. It's a opposite side, looks like the opposite side, but very close, and include the social issue and historical stream, I think.
Yes, if you ask to define the trend, I find it a bit difficult, but what I can see is the effect of trend. And for me, I always think like something, even something bad or something good, if it becomes trend, it becomes good. And that's a danger. We have to be very careful about this because we keep our judgment. We should keep the vision and keep our judgment. And in order to do that, as I remember when I was a student, we have to learn a lot about history, all the period in history. You just mentioned it as well. And when I was a student, I spent a lot of time in the library looking at the old building, looking at more and more modern, and also looking at the magazine, the newspapers that show the actual architecture. And one thing I always think also at that time is modern architecture, like we can call Le Corbusier or Bauhaus, is nowadays old-fashioned. Or we can say it become classic. Classic is a certain period of time for architecture in France, in Italy, or whatever. But classic is also a word to say it's intemporal. There is no value of the time, it's the value on itself. So based on these two different what we can say border, we need to be careful when we see something trend in every aspect of our life, like in American politics or in architecture or in anything, the way the suit we wear. Because it's trend, it's not good. And the second thing is the modern architecture is what it has to be fit with our actual life, in our contemporary life. But in a way, some of them will become classic and we become intemporal. I don't know if we achieve all of this, but sometimes we can be close. And that's it. That's enough.
If I were, it seems like the general feeling is that trend should not be something that we chase, perhaps in architecture. At least for the four of you, it's not, I guess, a guiding principle in your design process. But if I were to bring the questions a bit more personal to your kind of personal professional experience, sometimes I'm sure clients come with a certain visual image in their head that they want you to follow, and if you were to consider that trend, how do you approach that? How do you perhaps, I'm not sure if I use the right word, but educate the client or convince the client that, it's just a trend that's perhaps might run out of style in 5 years, for example. So if you can comment a little bit on that. Moksan, you want to start?
So if I try to understand the question is that how to deal with clients that already have an image of what they want, right? Okay. I think if you look at it as a good thing, it's actually really good to have a client that know what they want, right? I think good architects or how we can tackle this situation, because there's different type of client. There's client who don't know what they want. I think the previous panel already talked about some client want us to do all the homework for them. Some clients have a very detailed set of design brief. And there are some client who has this picture of what they want in mind, right? But I think as a good architect, you have to find way to find value for your clients. I think value in the way that you have to be a good listener and have to be a good storytelling. Storytelling by being empathetic about your clients and about your profession as an architect to explain your client, because they're not an architect, right? So you have to tell them why they come to you. This is the process that you have to provide. This is the service that you have to provide to your clients, that why would you want something that somebody's already have? Instead, we can provide something similar or something better for you that is dedicated to that project, to that context, to that size, through different way or strategy of what we, through sketching, through time. I think but when you are presented with a picture, it is very immediately, right? Something very immediately. Maybe for the client, it has been in their mind for years. But in front of you, it's just right there, right now. But what you have to do is there's a process where you have to follow as an architect. You have to do site analysis. You have to study the requirement. You have to tell the client, maybe this is not what they want. This does not fit their lifestyle. This does not fit the business. What they want, it does not make sense with the circulation, with the government requirements, and probably context is the most important thing. You got a picture from somewhere that is not contextually relevant to here. I think it's a challenge, no doubt. I think we cannot say that. I cannot say that I'm good at solving these issues, but I think over time, through experience, through your portfolio, through your word of mouth, I think you will naturally come to be able to explain to your clients. So I hope I can clarify that. Maybe three of you can help me with that. Yeah.
Okay. If the client come to me with a trend in mind, right, to do something, I think very importantly, you need to be very comfortable with what he or she is showing you. If you're not, my advice is actually don't do it. The reason is actually there's just too much devotion that will happen when you actually take on the projects. Okay, if you go to my website, we showcase a lot of beautiful projects. But those beautiful projects are only 20% of my lifetime of works. So what do I mean is actually there's also a big part of my projects are something that I'm not happy about, I'm not satisfied. And my point here is actually, if you're not comfortable with the clients, right, don't waste that time to just force ourselves through. And very often architects take on projects because they're hungry. They want to do the project just to make ends meet and then do it. But it can become very sad because you're going to waste 2 or 3 years of your time just to do that project that you dislike. Yeah, so for personally, I have enough of such projects. And I would think carefully. If you can't do it, let better architects do it, right? If the client is receptive, of course, they can still educate, but clients who can actually work with you closely and, it's very hard to come by. Yeah, let's be practical about it. It's hard to come by. Oh, thank you.
In my opinion, so we can get this more easily before we can get so a lot of image on just like a trend. So the most important thing, we didn't just follow the image or surface information. We have to why this appeared like this trend or why connecting this background or the history stream. So like this perspective, we have to check and furthermore deeply understanding, not only surface, more one and two, more deeply understanding and just check this, catch up with this essential element and we can using it for another, our idea or proposal. I think this is and so this process we can get our good seeds of ideas for our proposal, I think.
What I can say, besides you said also, first, I think we do good project with good clients, but also sometimes we have to carry the client forward and to carry him to the result. I want to share something. I have a company in France as well. And in France, we used to do only public buildings. And when you do public buildings, you have a competition. And the competition is organized by selection of the competitor. Then you have 6 weeks, sometimes, or 3 weeks to do it. You get paid. For the loser, get paid. The winner get the building. Sometimes the building never come out, so you lose. But in the case you win, the competition is a guarantee for you in front of your client to continue the project following the idea and not changing and not having the client involved with his personal target or his personal feeling. I like red, I like blue. No. The competition will guarantee the integrity of your architecture at a preliminary stage. Then you have to design the more technical, but at least the integrity of the project is guaranteed. So I don't know how to have this in Cambodia, but for example, for the Lycée Français, I didn't do the competition, but I insist very much to for the lycée to organize a competition and to make sure that the competitor who lose will get something, and to make sure that once you choose the candidate, you will not change your mind constantly. That's what they done. ASMA win this competition, but I see Martin was there and Bloom was there also. So it's kind of interesting. And competition can be organized as well in a private sector. In this case, it's private sector. So that's just sharing one experience. And I agree with the previous talk.
Can I stay with you, Yvon, on the topic of history? That I think it's based on your previous comments about, I guess, in architecture we can call it nostalgia, the act of conserving or preserving old building and blend it with new elements. And this morning, for example, we see projects, many projects, in fact, that use it as a design approach. Would you, in your opinion, consider that as a trend, as perhaps not trend, not as a visual thing, but trend as more of an approach, a process? Because even from my personal opinion, I think these past couple of years in Cambodia, there is a revival in a way of classical elements, of even nationalistic elements, pride of being Khmer, pride of being Cambodian, pride of things being made for Cambodia, for Khmer people. Whether or not we like it, I think it's kind of an ongoing cultural trend, if you may. How do you see that? I guess if I were to frame the question to you, because I think you touch on the idea of history, and I think the fact that you practice in France has kind of probably has a lot of experience in that.
Okay, I think I get your question. So I come back to the fact that for me, history is absolutely important, fundamental, and also to feel that in the history, architect in the past can be treated in two categories. One category could be, we should not try to make it revival. And the other category is we can learn from it forever. And traditional architecture is very typically a source of a reference, because traditional architecture, or what we can call vernacular architecture, which means architect without architect, it's typically the architecture in the tropic country where the people, years after years, try to find the good orientation, try to find the good material for their use, for the use of the house, or for the use of the school, or whatever function they will have. It's during the function that's used during the night, for example, sleeping in a house, or function during the day or early morning for pagoda, and function like school that can go a little bit more in the afternoon. So that is very basically, for me, a source of reference. And to go a little bit further, what you say about trend, I would say more how to be modern, how to be, there is innovation, and innovation is the same like trend. Maybe it can be good, maybe it can be wrong. We don't have to follow it because it's new, or we don't have to follow it because everybody likes it. No. We have to follow if in our conscience we feel that it's a progress for our day life, for our community, or for the way we will live together. If you have, there is one movement in architecture which is called high, like Norman Foster, or it's a tradition of high-tech architecture. Starts to make the train station, airports, and extra. It comes from also the church or So you have the evolution on the technique, how to make it bigger, how to make it thinner, how to make it the span longer and longer and longer. This is just innovation. It's innovation after innovation after innovation, and we will always go further. But this innovation, we take it on our own or we use it if you incorporate into something that makes sense, and something that makes sense in terms of progress. And there is no progress except social progress. There is no progress in architecture by itself. There is progress in medical assistance because it makes us living longer. There is progress in architecture if it makes us living in a better way. And of course, maybe we will talk it a little bit later, but sustainability and tropical adaptation is absolutely something we have to focus on. As you said, it's our big responsibility, and we are actor on this. So we can identify things like it is a progress or not a progress.
And even
Yeah. In our company for the first using for the housing history for the one of our Cambodian project, and this project is a Japanese high style Japanese Japanese style housing project for Cambodian people. Yes, and this project important point is two, and one is how to define the Japanese style, and second, how to adapt it for Cambodian climate. And this project, I'm considering how to make this process. And the first, we follow the housing history in Japan and Cambodia. The first, I mentioned the trend and the history is a close relationship. And the first, I follow this housing, and through this architecture history, we can know so close to the social issue or historical stream, and we can more deeply understanding in their own country history and the culture. And after that, I noticed some common point for the Japan and the Cambodia. In this case, I noticed the using common point for the intermediate zone, like between the inside and outside space. In Japan, something like the name is Japanese style veranda is Engawa, and in Cambodian style traditional is upstairs have a wall and a roof, but downstairs don't have a wall, and through the breeze. And I focus on this intermediate zone. And after that, I see the idea process our presentation proposal. And after that, second step, we check or compare the new trend. It's our proposal have a new notice or new idea or a new creation, and just like a new trend reference using it. And after that, finally, we decided this process and decided our proposal. Using like this trend and history for this process for our example.
Okay, I feel architecture should reflect time. So I think quite strongly that we shouldn't be recreating an old architecture literally the same way that was being built 100 years ago or so to the modern days. Now, what's important is actually we could capture the essence, the spirit, the culture of all this, right, that's pertaining to your context, and reinterpret it and put it into a manner that's actually appropriate to the time that you're in today. So heritage is important, okay? We are not talking about erasing all this heritage and so on and so forth. In fact, it's so important that in the Singapore context, we actually have a heritage monument board that's being set up to control tightly of architecture that has had certain importance to the country. There's also a conservation department that will actually regulate what you're going to do to the old buildings that you are embarking on. So a lot of projects in Singapore are actually being houses and even the buildings is being designated as conserved buildings. Means that you can't do much to it unless you follow closely to the regulations. So this term about adaptive reuse is quite relevant in our context in Singapore because we understand the importance of old architectures. So at times, it could be a case where the entire building is being preserved. Preserve means that you cannot do anything to it, right? On the other hand, conservation refers to you keep the shell of it, but you actually change it to a different usage. Yeah, so that actually requires a lot of sensitivity of the architect and the owner to actually make it happen. Yeah, so this thing about bringing back the old elements of history and all things is something that architect, I feel that it's so important that you may not have the capacity to do it. Yeah, so it may require a board, the specialized professionals who are very conversant with your heritage to regulate things like that. Because otherwise, whatever that's being destroyed is erased from the history forever. Yeah. So by so doing, I would like to encourage that, you can actually look into something like this. It could be for the interest of the country in the long term. Thank you.
If you read downstairs, I think there's a board downstairs. I think we related to your question, and I think my teams are here. I think they can prove we do it every day, every project. I think for us, architecture is fluid. And one of the reasons why fluid, there is a time component. Like Mr. Chu say, time is actually luxury. So there's time, space, and light, right? So we all share. Maybe space can be different for different people. People who are richer have a different space than people who have less resources. We share the same environment, we share the same light, but time is so important. I think we share the one common thing that everyone have, right, in the world is time. And time to me is doesn't matter if it's a cafe, it's an office, it's a villa, it's a hotel. I think time represents the luxury that everyone can have and everyone can share. And through time is historical value, culture, art, all these elements that bring us back to the past. As society modernize, population grow, we becoming more digitalization, AI, artificial intelligence. I think there's a need for people to go back to basic. There's a need to go back to nature. There's a need to go back to the past. And I think there is this you say revival of history, memory of the past in today's project. I think this is the reason is because time is luxury and everyone want to have time that we used to have, we used to live, or our ancestor or our family, our parents used to live. And I think this is something that connect every generation and everyone together. Yeah.
Right now, I want to open the discussion outward. If I may, our audience, if you have hands, so that any audience so oh no. นี่กระดาษ
First of all, I'd like to say I'm very grateful to have this looking for it for a long time. My question, I will try to make sense, but in terms of architecture trend, I think it involves the architect, involves the client, and it also involves the public. So maybe for us, we understand that there's no trend in architecture, and we try to create a space that creates a certain feeling. It must be understood by the general public. Maybe the general public see the trend as only the visual aspect of the architecture. So my question is that, especially in public building, do you think, how do you balance between, let's say, I try to make an architecture that works for a specific context, but also try to make the public understand about it. Not sure it makes sense. Maybe at the end, sometimes it ends up in some kind of style, some kind of symbol for the public to understand. For us, we understand it through the plan section and so on. But how do you think, how do you make the public understand your architecture without having to explain it? Or do you think it is necessary to do that?
You want to start, Hong San?
I don't think I will wake up and try to make everyone understand architecture. I think architecture design is something that we need time and we need experimentation. I think even myself, I find myself grow over time, like 2009 and 2004 or 5 years ago. I think we grow as an architect, and I think the public probably will grow as well, hopefully. But I don't think we want everyone to understand. We need to make everyone understand. But I think if we have good buildings, if we have good master plan, if our master plan is good, our is good outside our building, inside our building. If we have a good use of building orientation, the viewpoint from buildings, how your family use the space, or how your team come to work, or how people choose to go to what restaurant to eat. I think if we have good building, if we have good space, if we have good architecture, I think it will subconsciously invite people to come in, but maybe they don't have to understand why. They just feel good. And I think our job as an architect is also to make sure that what design and what we build is, for us, it's feel good, but for other people, for them to feel good, but they don't have to understand everything we do. I hope I answered the question.
I think a good architecture, you do not need to explain to your clients or people that what it's all about. Good architecture actually evokes emotion to it. Yeah, means that when you pass by this building, when you're in it, actually you feel something about it. Yeah, you feel good. Good actually a bit general. Actually, it keeps you going, the sense of belonging, and so on and so forth. So I think
the hard truth is actually a lot of the architecture that you see around is just very cold, very predictable, very functional. And you just look down the street and say, oh, okay, nothing intriguing, nothing that actually attracts you in any ways. I think as a designer, you go back to the fundamental. What is the project all about? It's for the people, right? It's for the people, and it's also for the environment. So if you actually build your design based on these two fundamental concepts, it shouldn't go that long, right? And eventually the whole objective is actually you wish that your project receive a sense of ownership from the people. And it's not just there for the sake of real estate. I think back in my country also, a lot of buildings are designed for the purpose of money. Yeah, so how much can you keep out? That's it. Yeah, and so I think my encouragement to you is actually find your own source of inspirations, motivate yourself in the way you like, and do as much of discovery on a personal level. Your project should come on with a lot of life. Thank you.
I think so. The most important thing is like architect's passion. Usually the architect process is very hard and tough and very complicated, and we have to done. And the project is a long time, 3 years, 5 years, over 10 years sometimes. And the passion without we cannot feel good breath space or feel about more thinking for about the like detail, and we have to complete the basement into for architect passion. And this is the most important thing, and we have to collaborate with in the architecture team, include the construction team also. We have connecting like this team coordinator management. This is a important thing, so it's a very difficult, so try to never give up our clear passion.
Yes, okay, so it's a tricky question because kind of difficult to answer. The fact is architecture is public, is in front of everyone. So it's a big responsibility, and the one guilty is the architect. So for sure, you will face to some people they like, some people they don't like. My answer to this question would be a bit radical, but I think it's true. Architecture is a discipline that needs a knowledge to understand, not like the song we listen in the radio. It's kind of practice that cannot be understood right away. And in a way, in the same time, it's visible by everyone, so it can be criticized or it can be admired by anyone. So that's we are lucky or not lucky. People are happy or not happy. That's life.
So just to summarize, I guess at the end of the day, architecture is subjective. It's very hard to please, I guess, everybody. I think we can only hope for our buildings to work, to serve as many people as possible. But I guess more importantly is to serve its purpose, right? For what intended purposes for that particular building. Thank you for questions. I want to open up to more questions. So for our audience, it would be helpful for you to direct the question to one or two particular architects so that we can try to squeeze in more questions. សម្រាប់សំណួរបន្តទៀតសូម focus ទៅលើ architect ណាមួយដែលយើងចង់សួរសំណួរទៅគាត់ចំហ្មងអញ្ចឹងយើងអាចឲ្យអ្នកផ្សេងទៀតគាត់មានឱកាសសួរសំណួររបស់គាត់ដែរបាទមានអីបន្ថែម សូមលើកដៃដើម្បីបាត់បាច់អូខេ
Hello ជាដំបូងខ្ញុំសូមគោរពជំរាបសួរទៅដល់បងស្ថាបត្យកររៀបចំទាំងអស់គ្នាដែលមានវត្តមាននៅទីនេះក៏ដូចជាជំរាបសួរទៅដល់អ្នកទាំងអស់គ្នាដែលមានវត្តមាននៅទីនេះផងដែរខ្ញុំបាទឈ្មោះសុនសុរធី ហើយជានិស្សិតមកពី linktr.ee University ហើយ majoring architectural studies ខ្ញុំ ឃើញ main topic យើងនេះនិយាយពី trends of architecture in Cambodia ហើយខ្ញុំក៏នឹកឃើញពាក្យមួយហើយក៏ដូចជាឃើញរៀបចំ architect យើងផឹកមិញក៏បាន mention ដែរតើតជាមួយនឹង sustainability ហើយខ្ញុំចង់សំណួរនេះខ្ញុំចង់សួរ specifically ask to Mr. Hon Chansan I want to know that how do Cambodian architects or you are a Cambodian architect how do you address sustainability into your design and what are the specific sustainable practices are being adopted in the new project or adopted in the completed project? Thank you.
Maybe Yvon want to say something. Actually, I think some project is more sustainable than some projects. I think sustainability, there are regulations that determine how sustainable your building are. But I think for me, sustainability is not about rating, about getting certificates. Sustainability for me is quite basic. It's actually, if you think about it, it's actually very common sense. Right? Every project is different, but every projects are the same. Actually, it's different because it serves different purposes. It has different site. It has different function. Right? Different type of building, different type of clients. But it's the same because every project is the same for us. My team at the office, every time we meet our clients, every time we go to see the site, from the moment from we doing our first sketch. Sometimes I might tie to the earlier question. Sometimes we do start the project by having a picture in mind. Of how the outcome would be, but sometimes that what we have in mind is completely changed at the end, you know. But most of the time, very excited, right? When we start the project on a blank piece of page on your notebook. Very excited. I think what I mean by the same is that when you think about the user, when you think about the purpose of the building, when you think about the environment, when you value the relationship between your building to the spaces inside your building and outside your building, right? When you put your focus on that, meaning that you are aware of, you are empathetic, you understand the people, you understand the environment, you understand the user, you understand the function, then you start to thinking about the building orientation on the site. You're thinking about where the entrance is, you're thinking about sunrise, sunset, you're thinking about location of different spaces inside the building, outside of your building in relation to when you wake up and when you go to bed at night. At what time you choose to have dinner outside your house or you choose to have a rooftop party. I think this kind of knowledge that go back to basic, go back to common sense will arrive at something that is sustainable because at the end, the user will fall in love with the space. They will feel something. There will be emotional attachment the moment that they see the building and when they go inside the building, right? And other than that, I think you're probably thinking about energy and resources. You're thinking about daylight saving. You're thinking about reducing the use of electricity through careful designing your building so that you don't have too much direct sunlight into your building. you have operable window where you need to have so that you have a nice circulation, natural ventilation through your buildings. Other than that, I think the use of material, try to use available resources. Probably design only what is needed, I think, yeah. What else? I think for me, I say like this in a very basic and common, very informal way, because that's what we do for every project at the office. Although you might see the project on our website, they all look very different, but actually they're all the same. Yeah. Thanks.
Can we have one last question? Thank you.
Hello, I am Electra and I've been practicing architecture in Cambodia for the past 10 years. I have a question. You mentioned, Yvon mentioned vernacular architecture. In a simple way, I want to ask, how can we do vernacular architecture today when the overall scenario, the overall scenario of architecture is actually more focused on the profit? How can we actually do vernacular architecture? And how can we select our clients? What does actually mean to create a project that does come from the need of the inhabitants more than from the sometimes the requirements of the client.
Okay, thank you for the question. We were talking about IA. For me, I only have a NA, natural intelligence, and we just try to follow natural or individual perspective. For sure, we get influenced by the past. For sure, we get influenced by the actuality, the new things happen. But as we all say, we work a lot. We try to work a lot. We try to create our methodology. Some methodology would be contextual or high-tech, as I mentioned, or function follow form follow function. So for myself, the methodology I try to organize and I try to push year after year is something I work with the students, two groups of students. One group is with French Institute, where they organize competition, and the second group is into ITC, actually ECAM La Salle. It's a school inside ITC, where I work with the student to create this methodology to make sure that the footprint of the building can be calculated, and now there is software to do that. So we calculate the footprint of the construction, we calculate the way that the sun passes and how the surface will be impacted on the facade, on the roof, and so on. And so to answer your question, or to try to answer your question, I think we arrive to the fact that the form, or at the end, the look of the project, it's not as important as
the way we get through to achieve this. It means we don't try to make it something nice. We don't try to make it something beautiful or attractive. We follow a process, and then the result has to be as genuine as possible, as integrate as possible, as comment dire, honest as possible with the process. And then if it looks nice, it's good. If it doesn't look like, somebody maybe will look like in the future or later, but it's not the purpose. So the way to achieve something, I think, and I know all your building as well, and I can see you have, as you said, you have your own process, you have your own way to process the building. I don't believe, you said you have sometimes the vision arrive first. It's wrong. Why it could arrive first? It has to be the end of the process. And sometimes we are satisfied, we are mostly never satisfied, but the result is the result, and hopefully sometimes it's good.
Thank you for the questions. I am going to wrap this up, but before that, I just want to have last questions for all four of our architects, since we're on the topic of trends, and based on today's discussions, I think we have touched upon the goods and the bads of trends in whatever meaning it means to people. But since our core audience today is students, I want to ask for your comments or perhaps even advice on how should young architects or architecture students best prepare themselves to tackle this ever-changing phenomenon. It's something that we can't ignore in the real world. It's a client-architect relationships. They have to deal with it at some point. So based on your belief, I would like each of you to comment on how should they, I guess, prepare themselves for that. Mr. Chu, maybe this time.
Okay, my advice to the young architects is that do not follow trends blindly. Yeah. So believe in yourself. And what's important is actually develop that critical thinking in you to actually deal with the problems that arise along the way. Right? Critical thinking, because that will mean that you do not just settle for any answer that is being presented to you easily. Okay, that's one point. Second point is actually have a higher standard of your own expectations. A lot of time is like if you just settle for whatever that come along, then there's a high chance that it won't be a good one. So that takes a lot of perseverance, all right, and the resilience to actually meet the mistakes and the failures that you have. But it's only with that then I think you can create some beautiful stuff out of your whole architectural journey. Thank you.
My advice is go to try overseas as a backpacker. So through the I experience about here 3 months, the backpacker training, I all go out and find grants. So opposite side us from the Japan. So the most important skill, notice what's the originality or nationality in Cambodia. So don't forget the respect for the Cambodian culture and the history. The most easy way to go to overseas, and you can easily notice what's different, why different, what's this factor, and many factors have a basement and foundation for the country and area. You can notice easily, and you can get experience. So everything What's or why you have a many trigger you can get, and you can feedback the Cambodia, what should do in Cambodia, or what should do in the future what you're doing. It's a many things you essence for the as a backpacker. Thanks.
So the question is two things, if I understand. One is advice for the student, and one is about environmental advice. Or public preparedness. So my big advice for the student is to visit architecture, is to visit the buildings. Take the chance to go inside IFL, to go inside the building that we built. To go to visit, because you will experiment the space and you will create your own feeling, you will create your own experience and your own way to judge the height, the perspective, the color, the material, the sensation, the lights, the way it's fluid, the way it's restricted. So visit. And I don't know if I did not understand the second part, but my way to see the future is the most important impact is the CO2 in the atmosphere. The release of CO2 in the atmosphere is caused by burned fossil energy. And I make a very big difference between the pollution in the atmosphere that will have a huge consequence on the earth and a very difficult consequence to stop. And I make a difference between this and the local pollutions. Local pollutions can be, of course, it's something that we always see. We see the plastic, we see this, we see that, but it's a way less important than what is happening in the atmosphere. And our mission as architect is maybe to limit this. So by the choice of material that we use, there is some material that creates much more emission than other, and to try to be local as much as possible. And on Johnson to conclude.
I think to be an architect, you have to be critical. Right? You have to be able to take what you see and able to analyze it in a way that inform you to arrive at your own things. So I think it's so quick that information is available right away on your cell phone, on the internet, on the website. Everyone's sharing things on social media, now on TikTok as well. I think important that you're able to see the image, just the image, but you have to think through, be critical. I think when I say some project that before I start the project, I read the brief, I understand the site, and I understand what type of building will fit into the site. I might have some image of the building in mind. What I meant is that I know that it's going to be relevant to the type of project, or relevant to the site, or relevant to the user. But it doesn't mean that you have a picture, doesn't mean that you have to create everything new by yourself, because in this time of generation, what else can be new, right? What's amazing, we're talking about AI, right? AI is, what's amazing about AI is not AI. What's amazing about AI is to be human. Because human is innovative. We keep on coming up with new things. I think we able to use this information, use this image that we see as a tool to identify what's behind the image. I think that's very important. Every project that we find references from the internet, from social media, we tend to think about material. We tend to think about how the shadow is reflected on the wall, on the floor. We tend to think about how rough the surface is versus smooth the surface is. We tend to think about circulation, or we're thinking about the depth of space when you approach, from from the entrance, and where do you see deep into the space. So when we at work, when we use references, we tend to analyze in terms of this kind of vocabulary, so that you are informed that there are things that are not two-dimensional. It's actually what you see is three-dimensional. What you see come from somewhere. It's not just on the screen, right? So when you're able to be critical of what you see, when you're able to see past the image and then see through how this material is being made, see through the thickness of the wall, see through how the light might change in the picture that you see in the morning and at night. I think this kind of information will train you to see what you see, but not to follow, so that you can arrive at something of your own for your own projects. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. With that, we would like to wrap up our roundtable sessions. Once again, thank you to all 4 senior architects for your time and for your input. And hopefully our audience can take something away from our discussion. Thank you.